Jewish Education in Media is pleased to present Chayim, a program that highlights the people, issues, and events of importance to the Jewish community. Now here is your host, Rabbi Mark Golub.
I'm Mark Golub, and as often as possible, I want to introduce you to the most creative, talented, exciting, extraordinary individuals on the world Jewish scene, and lucky us, I have one to introduce you to today. His name is Ron Eliran. He is known worldwide as Israel's ambassador of song. Let me tell you a little bit about Ron Eliran. He became the principal entertainer for the IDF in 1962. He is a Sabra. And he was part of the historic Six-Day War. His song from that war, Sharm el-Sheikh, was a huge hit in Israel. It sold more than 500,000 copies. It earned Ron the Israeli equivalent of a Grammy Award, known in Israel as the Violin of David Award. Ron has performed in the leading concert halls around the world with live performances in New York's Carnegie Hall, in Washington's Kennedy Center, in London's Albert Hall, in Montreal's Place des Arts, and in Los Angeles Music Center. He is an accomplished songwriter. He wrote both lyrics and music for the Broadway hit show Don't Step on My Olive Branch, and for the widely acclaimed show Night Song. He starred in both. In 1995, after the tragic assassination of Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin, Ron wrote a song together with Gad Yacobi, then Israel's UN ambassador, about the late Prime Minister's life, which Ron then performed in front of more than 200,000 people at Rabin Square in Tel Aviv as part of a live nationally televised tribute to the assassinated Prime Minister. And in 1997, Ron was part of the centennial celebration of the first Zionist Congress that was held in Basel, Switzerland, where Theodor Herzl had made his prophetic statement, "If you will it, it is no dream," and Ron wrote his song for that centennial entitled "If You Will It," which he performed with the Basel Symphony Orchestra. But perhaps most of all, Ron's greatest statement of fame remains that he is the true ambassador of song for the entire Jewish people, and he's one of the loveliest human beings I've ever had the pleasure of meeting. It is a joy for me to sit with you, Ron Eliran. Thank you so much for joining us.
I think you're overdoing it.
I am not overdoing it. You know how much I love you.
Yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit about you first.
As if you didn't, right, until now, right?
Okay. So take me through this. You're a Sabra. You're born in 1937. What is your given name?
I was born in Haifa, in a suburb of Haifa, really, by Elijah's cave. They call the place Kiryat Eliyahu.
Aha.
And maybe that's why I became like a spiritually type of a person.
Yeah. But for all intellectual honesty here, I'm asking you this question because we share the same Hebrew name.
My first name is Menachem.
Menachem.
Or as my mother used to say, Menachem.
Right.
Menachem.
Who were your parents?
My mother was Hannah.
Yeah.
Hannah she was born Wildman, which is a wild man, and she was a wild woman. Rest her soul in peace. And because my parents came as chalutzim. I mean,
early pioneers, yes?
When I sing about it, I really sing about the chalutzim because they were there. My father, they came in before the 1920s to Israel. And of course, from Poland. And of course, they missed the Holocaust, thank God, but all their relatives were gone. So my father was barefoot. He spoke Arabic fluently, and he was all the Arabs in the neighborhood were his friends.
Really? What was his name?
Until the first war, of course.
His name?
His name was Michael.
Michael.
That's my son's name, of course. And he was like a Zorba character. He used to sing, he had a bakery. He had a conditoria, which is the first electric conditoria, which is a bakery in Haifa. He didn't know how to bake. He didn't know nothing. He was a chain smoker. He used to look. I see him in front of the big dough there, a big pile of pot there, and he's smoking. You know, one of those smokers, the cigarettes. He never puffs and never. It just the thing becomes longer and longer and longer and longer, and then it goes like this, and boing, it falls in the dough, and all of Haifa citizens ate cakes with ashes before there was tragedy in the air. So my father's family name was Lazarovich. Now Menachem Lazarovich, not exactly a show business name, but I was happy. I really didn't change it until I went with the students. Ben Gurion, when it was 10 years to the anniversary of Israel, 1958, the Foreign Office and Ben Gurion said, if you go out of the country, change your name. But I was in a period of changing before, because Lazarovich in the army, they called me Laser, because Lazarovich too long. Laser is an abbreviation of Eliezer. So people thought Eliezer is my name. So they abbreviated this and called me Eli. So that's how Eliran started.
That's how it comes.
Yeah. And when I came to America, it was Menachem. Because as you probably will mention it, I came here with a partner girl, and we performed on the Ed Sullivan Show.
Yes.
And Menachem is not a good name. Later, Menachem Begin made it big, so I don't know.
So you took Ron.
Yes, so Ron Eliran seemed to me. And then, like I said, the spelling is wrong. And I said, I originally spelled it R-A-N, and people thought I ran all over the place. With this, we played folk places, and we had to adjust. So now, I usually, when you ask me my name, how I write, at the end I sign Eliran, so there's no problem.
Very, very nice. Okay, when you think back on the life you had in your parents' home, late 30s, early 40s, warm, lovely memories?
Wonderful. Israel was, and at that time it was called still Palestine, under the British mandate. Very rural fields, tree, a lot of grass, a lot of khubeza, those little plants that the Arabs eat, and some of those hummus that they make, tahina and hummus. It was lovely, and they were working the land. And we had three houses in the whole Kiryah, in the whole little village. One was Lazarovich, that was my father, the baker. Across was the carpenter, Davidovich. And on the left, it was Chaimovich, the electrician. So we had three witches here, and it was a beautiful childhood, of course, till the eve of 1948, the War of Independence.
We'll get to that. You're one of three children?
I am one of three children, and my sister who passed away, who was, by the way, when she was young, she was at the Haganah, you know, and my brother who is younger than me, yeah. And
all of you got along together?
Of course, yeah.
And what was Shabbat like in your home? Was it Shabbat?
Yeah, Shabbat. My mother came from a very, I think the whole family was like a symbolic of what's happening in Israel, and
please.
Always has happened.
Yes.
My mother came from a family of rabbis, Geonim, Guens, you know, they go on from Vilna, they go on there. The Rebbe Elimelech, is I'm a descendant of that Rebbe Elimelech from Lizhensk. She told me that every chance she had, and she had a rabbi cook, she was a relative, and she came. My father first came as a chalutz, because he was a secular, happy-go-lucky guy who wanted to enjoy life. He was the Jewish Zorba of the area. My mother, she came from Rabbunim, and she went to Jerusalem. He asked for her to come. There were teenage lovers in the old Jichlin, little village, Statel, in Poland. So he wrote her what they call affidavit, which is a request, vouched for her, and she came with a little chimidan, which is a trunk, and 5 sterling. pounds. That was the nedunya, the nadn. She brought it. She was in Jerusalem. But before they married, he courted her in Jerusalem, and the rabbi and the rebbetzin didn't, and she was all dressed, covered, because, and they didn't approve of him, but love won, and they got married, and then they moved to Haifa. I was born in Haifa. That was a big port next to a British Army barracks. So all I can say, there was always this tension. She wanted to do a very firm, and he wanted to enjoy life. Well, it's always the restriction and the fight against freedom. I think that's one of the reasons I left for America. I said, I was next to Elijah's cave and the traditional, my uncle and the yeshivas and the people, and I wanted to be like my father a little. And I couldn't be in that area like my father, so I went across the sea.
As you look back on it now with adult perspective, did they have a good marriage?
Yes, considering that a Jewish marriage has a lot of fights in between. It's like the existence of us in Israel. You fight, you make up, everything is beautiful. Comes, like you say, Shabbos. As a matter of fact, I wrote a song about them that, if you want, I'll play it. It was a part of that Broadway show. It's how
you wrote
they
a song about your parents?
Yes.
Do it for me.
I can do it a little bit for you.
Do a little bit for me.
Okay. I hope I remember all the lyrics.
Chana and Michal.
And
Michael. Chana and Michael.
That's at the end of their life. Look at them now, the way she leans on him, the way he holds her hands. A portrait of life, all painted and gray, lovers and friends. The weight of the years on their shoulders, how they weather the raging storm. Labored and lived to grow older, and the faith that still shines in their eyes. It's gonna be tough, it's gonna be so rough, but the Lord will provide. It's gonna take time, such a long, long climb, let me be at your side. Come with me, we'll build ourselves a home. Follow me, you'll never be alone. Gonna be tough, gonna be so rough, but the Lord will provide. Take time, such a long, long climb. Let me be at your side.
Wonderful. That's wonderful. Boy, what a gift it is to be able to write a song that touches the heart of your mother and father.
I came to America. I haven't written a song. Never. And it was folk music. It was the 60s, and the excitement, the students. And I went to NYU. I wanted to be a filmmaker. This, like my father used to say, my mother used to say, sit down, eat already, enough singing, that's it. What is singing is a klezmer, it's not a serious profession. And I was pretty good in school, but this, later, many years later, when Presley died, she called me and said, you see, I told you, this is not a profession for people.
All right, take me
what I'm saying is I started writing only in America because I was jealous. Irish singer, Scottish singer could sing and everybody understands. Hebrew sing, Israeli singer, I sing, only very few understand.
I understand.
So I ended up translating some lyrics, and later I started writing too.
So you do remember when the State of Israel is established, when Ben-Gurion reads the Declaration of Independence on May 14th, 1948. Where are you?
I was a kid at home in Kiryat Eliyahu, which is, like I said, at the slopes of Mount Carmel, overlooking the sea.
Do you remember that day?
I remember a few days before that. The British were about to leave. And I remember that the Haganah people were all around us. Young boys and girls. Of course, I was a kid only. They were teenagers and older. And the British were not even-handed. I remember seeing Haganah people, our people, being beaten very badly, harshly, by British soldiers because they carried a pistol or something, because they were training around the hills to become later the IDF. It was the Haganah first. The Palmach people. It's funny how I think about periods in terms of songs, because the Shir Palmach get in my head. There's a storm around us, because that was the feeling. Songs express just more than narratives sometimes, the spirit or the mood and the thoughts and the dangers of each crisis. And that was a crisis. My father was a brave man. He had this bakery, but the oven was not full of cakes. It was full of ammunition for the Haganah people. It was what they call a slick. A slick is a term for Haganah, of a hiding place where you hide weapons to when the British leave and we all have to defend ourselves, because 7 Arab armies were about to attack. I was in shock a little bit, because my father had Arab friends all around, and I understood Arabic too as a kid. And my father was their best friend, and obviously anti-Semitism is something, I don't know, in the genes, who knows, I don't know. We still feel it today. All of a sudden, it raises its ugly head. I never knew what anti-Semitism is, I tell you. I knew hatred and I knew enemy. But years later, when I was with the Chabad people in Russia, first time I saw anti-Semitism. Well, in New York, you don't see anti-Semitism. Mm-hmm. I was walking in a village with the rabbis of the Chabad. We were looking for an old ancient synagogue, and it was snowing, and we were walking, and we didn't know where the synagogue was. And one of the farmers, the mujiks, the Russians, was there, and somebody asked him where it is, and he just turned around and he spit on the ground. That's anti-Semitism. There's no reason why a human being should do that. There's a hatred that you don't know where it comes from.
You described how you were growing up in Haifa as a child.
Yes.
And life was very nice, and things then changed for Israel and even for your family once the War of Independence took place in 1948. What do you mean your life changed? Remember for me the tone of life for you, your family, your father and mother, your sisters, when it happens that basically the State of Israel is declared. It's a joyous moment, and yet your father knows things are going to be very different. Can you talk to me about that for a little bit?
Yeah, I was telling you, the first few years, I was really too young to remember, but we had a period before the Declaration of Independence. And as a child, I told you, we used to have meetings. Kids were very involved with what's going on. And we overheard that the British are going to leave soon, and there is a movement to have a Jewish state. And in that time, I played the fields. I was a child at play, and I had my music too. And then all of a sudden, like the sky became dark, and I was right there in the beginning, in the middle of the war. through my kitchen balcony, there were 3 Haganah soldiers with rifles shooting just a few hundred feet across where there was the main road, and there were some Jordanian soldiers across in a Jordanian cemetery. And I could see, and there was noise. And then the decision was made by the Haganah to take all the women and the children and move them securely into the inside of Haifa, Merkaz, in the middle of Hadar Carmel. And we were taken by a small armored truck. My mother, my sister, and my younger brother. And we were taken to another, and our father left, stayed behind. And we were for a few weeks there. You know, most Arabs, we had the Davidka. You know, Davidka was a homemade little I don't know how you call it, margema.
A rocket of sorts.
Yeah, a rocket launcher. You know, primitive. It's called Davidka because the guy who invented it was David. And that thing made a lot of noise. And it didn't do any really damage, but whoa! And the legend says that the Arabs were so scared of that Davidka that a lot of them ran away. And then all of a sudden, we became, it's like a blank, I don't know. We became, I know on the radio when the whole country was like intoxicated, I talk about it, and the songs were, Ha'amin yom yavo. All of a sudden we saw a future. And don't forget that most people had families in the Holocaust, including mine. And what can I tell you? You felt like history, the wheels of history are turning, and you're just moving towards a better future. So everybody's entitled to Atikva, you know, that's our faith.
Hope.
Yeah. And then Im Tirtzu and Zo Agada, what Herzl said, Theodor Herzl said, if you will it, it's not a dream. And I tell you, this is, I really believe that the first 20 years of somebody's life is where he's melded, he's becoming what he is. He's created. So those 20 years are with me wherever I am. Mm-hmm. Through Bob Dylan and the days and the drugs in the 60s, everything. I was in the Troubadour Club in Los Angeles, very fancy, where the guy from the Doors was performing. And I sang a song and I explained something about Israel, and they all came to me, wow, you're a fascist. You're talking about a war. Here we are against Vietnam, and you're talking about we should defend ourselves. It's those 20 years. You feel prophets, you learn about the prophets, the wars of King David, and it's a part of you. I think that's fantastic. Now, and I was not a right-winger. I always believed, and I love people. Pete Seeger is still a friend. When he came to Israel, I escorted him. He went to see Arabs. I went with him. I really am a peacenik at heart. From those days in America, in the 60s, what turned me to become a peacenik, because I saw that, you know, humanity and all those songs that have nothing to do with heritage, but about equality. And I never saw black people in Israel. I didn't know it. I went to see Mahalia Jackson in Chicago in a church. She blew my mind, I tell you. It was unbelievable. And until today, I don't have this thing again, that racial thing. Because in Israel, I never saw. The only dark people were a little Yemenites, a few Yemenites, and they were in Tel Aviv, not in Haifa. I never saw a Yemenite. Shoshana Damari was singing. They said, I thought it was very.
But you did see Arabs in Haifa.
Yes, but they were enemies. They were not Jew anti-Semites. They were enemies. I have to watch it loud. Listen, I just, a month ago, I was in Jerusalem, and one of the songs that I wrote for Broadway was an ode to Jerusalem. And somebody wants to make a CD for evangelists to come tourists to Israel, and they loved my song. It's a choir, and it's really impressive. So he said, let's do a video. So my son, he said, as a driver, he'll take you all over Jerusalem. And we'll take a video camera. And we did it. To Ma'ale Adumim, and we took all Via Dolorosa and everything. Let me tell you, I was so scared. Some Arab neighborhoods there, you see the look in their eyes, and you see it's not gonna be good. It has to be solved one day, because the feeling of hate is not a good feeling.
Mm-hmm. Was the feeling of hate there when you were a child?
No, I think that the simple Arabs, without their leaders, are people. I had some friends, we had good fun, you know. I don't want to say it because it sounds like I'm too innocent or naive. I'm not naive. But I believe, and listen, what about New York? I go to this bagel place, and the Arab guy, he's an Arab guy from Palestine, and I got 2-3 places where I eat bagels and stuff. And he's a wonderful man. He's talking to me, and he says, when are we going to solve the problem? It's terrible. Yeah, American Arabs, some of them, you know, you feel they can be your friends.
Are you intellectually, emotionally supportive of the idea?
Are we in a psychological session now? Because that sounded very pointed.
Are you emotionally, intellectually supportive of a two-state solution?
Yes, of course.
But
I think there's no other way.
The answer is, of course, isn't it?
Yes.
And don't you feel that reflects the view of the vast majority of Israelis?
Yes.
Do you think in general Israelis hate Palestinians?
Oh, no, I don't think so at all. I don't think so at all. No Jew. I don't think Jews. It's being the subject of hate usually. It's usually, that's our tradition all over the world throughout thousands of years. We're the persecuted. Los mechot, let us live. No, I don't think we have this at all.
All right.
And I don't know where they got it.
So I know that ultimately you become part of the IDF, the Israel Defense Forces,
yes, so
in 1962.
Yes. So
how does that happen?
Yeah, first of all, I finished my high school, and I played my violin, and I wanted to go to the Nachal, to the army. Obviously, the violin was not the thing, but I knew a year before that the army, popular songs are starting, horas are being written, folk music is coming, and I wanted to be a part of it. It was the beginning of Israeli folk music. And fortunately, my brother got a present as an accordion. So I sneaked into his room and I taught myself accordion. And when I went to the army, I was taken to the army, and I was drafted to the Nachal. Nachal is a group that you do your army, but you're in a border settlement. You're in a settlement or by a kibbutz, and after you do your army training, part of the day you work the land. Part of the day you hold your weapons. And that's where I was, in Tel Katzir, overlooking the Kinneret Galilee, Lake of Galilee. Over on the hills, our friends, the father of Sadat was there. The Syrians were there, and they were shooting because our barracks were here, and you had to go this way to the dining room of the kibbutz. And every time you went to the kibbutz, they were shooting. You'd never know if you get hit or not. Those were the days. It was dangerous all over the Emek HaYarden. So some people, officers from the headquarters, heard me play. People are dancing, and I am a performer. I'm a ham. I'm like my father. So they say, hey, this kid we could use him. So they transferred me from Kibbutz Tel Katzir on this border settlement to the headquarters in Jaffa, and from there they sent me for 2 years all over Israel to settlements, right in the Negev, in the desert out there. And I taught them new Israeli folk songs. I met all the new Israeli composers who started folk songs. Emmanuel Zamir wrote songs, and Matityahu Shelem. There was a guy called Weissfish who wrote Hey Dimona Mizimo. All those songs. Admon who wrote Shedemahati. Where do you do Israeli folk music? You had to start anew. So we knew one thing we had is the language. The language is guttural. The sound around us is guttural. We could not use, before everybody was singing Russian melodies. And that was not originally Israeli. There were Russian and Polish and all kinds of songs translated into Hebrew. But here we had a wave of new composers who wrote, and they went mostly to the Bible in the beginning. Erev Shel Shoshanim, Song of Songs, Song of Love. That's today. That's why I'm so. Today is exciting for me to go there. Every time there is a festival about Israeli folk music, they call me because they know I was there. So I'm in Zibeten Himmel, they say, seventh heaven. Because that's how I started. Never mind that I got to do the period of Dylan. I went to rock. I wrote rock music, Broadway. This is where it all began for me.
Then you do become, in the Six-Day War, you become a sensation.
I was pure luck.
Pure luck? Tell me. How did
Pure luck. I was, by the way, already in the States performing. I was performing in Las Vegas.
When did you come to America?
I came to America first. I went a few times. I came in waves. First time was 10 years to the state of Israel with a girl and some other performers. Like one of them was a guy on crutches who played violin, Yitzhak Perlman.
Yes.
Who, by the way, remembers our songs.
Does he?
We used to sing Anap, Anada. He sees me and he says, hey. And we did the Ed Sullivan show. We did it.
How was that, doing the Ed Sullivan show?
To me, it was like the Ed Sullivan show. We didn't know.
You didn't know, did you? You didn't understand.
It was weird. So a television camera I never saw before. There was no television in Israel. I figured it was some kind of a box, but and we were.
So this is
cute.
before the Six-Day War.
Oh yes.
And then what happens to you?
So I went to NYU, and I said I want to become Fellini, a Jewish Fellini. I want to make
You're
movies.
still going to be a movie maker.
Well, I play with it. I know. In Israel, the last 6 months of my army service, I became an army photojournalist. I took pictures of our Navy doing some exercises in Greece, and listen. I guess I jump on Zibbets and Chasanas. I do a few things because I don't like to do only one thing. So I came to America, and then I came back to Israel. Went to Israel, and then 6 months later, the Six-Day War broke out.
So you were in Israel during the Six-Day War?
I was there. Yeah, I was there. What so happened? I was there, and my father was very sick, and I came with him. He came to visit me here. I came with him to Israel. He passed away from cancer, and I started performing again in Israel. And then Nasser declared a blockade on the Red Sea, and he threw away the UN observers, and we were in konenut, we were in readiness. And one of the hits that I recorded was "Achziki lanu etzbaot," keep your fingers crossed, because I'm going the army, but I won't be long, I'll be back. And if I'm not true to you with Uzi or Kaki, I'll be back very soon. In those days, it's not like the music today. The I was really serving the we. We was important. We, the nation. We, the people. We, the Israelis. We who live in this land. there was such an ideology of the sacrificing of the self. It gave you a lot of strength.
At some point, by the way, you do write Sharm el-Sheikh.
Yeah, well, that's a thing of three people involved in it.
Okay, but we
so
should explain,
here we are.
We should explain to people. This is in some way
happened.
becomes your signature song.
And how? I'll
Okay.
tell you how. So I was playing in a folk place in Eilat. It was called Sof HaOlam, the end of the world.
Were you in the army at this point?
I was in the army before I left for America.
Yes.
But I did my miluim, my reserve duties.
Yes.
Every time I came.
So in the 67 war, were you in the army itself?
Yes, I was drafted to do performance.
Exactly.
Performance.
You were in the entertainment unit.
Yeah, but the war broke out, and I did a show for our Air Force base in the south of Israel. And then somebody said, our forces are moving southwards to break the blockade in Sharm el-Sheikh. And I'm sitting there with two friends of mine. One of them is Amos Ettinger, who was a journalist and a writer of songs. And he says, let's write a song about going to Sharm el-Sheikh because we're going to go there tomorrow. I said, okay. So where's the melody? I remembered in the case of my guitar, I had music of a melody that a piano player at the end of the world nightclub gave it to me because he said, you never sing my melodies. I got beautiful melodies. I said, don't worry, one day I'll do it. I say, hey, so I go to the guitar case, I open the case, and there's a folded piece of paper, and I unfold it and I say, it's not a bad melody. It's here a little too long, here it's a little short, and the chorus I'm not too crazy about. But so we fix it, the three of us, Amos Ettinger, myself, and Yoel Dan, who was a guitar player, friend of mine, who lives now in Los Angeles. And as we sing it, and he sings, Sharm el-Sheikh, Chazarnu elayich shenit. We have returned to you again. To me, that was a little too much. I said, Amos, when were you here last? What's the story? He says, listen, we're in a hurry. I'll fix it later. I'll do it. It was never fixed because there was a broadcast truck from Galei Tzahal, the army broadcasting station, who recorded us.
With those words?
With those words.
I
And
returned to you a second time.
Right.
Chazarnu elayich shenit. And lo and behold, it becomes fixed.
Fixed forever. Not only this, since then a lot of prime ministers went to Sharm el-Sheikh, including Pur Nebuch, what's his name? The Egyptian guy. He's still there. Yeah. So now our soldiers conquer Sharm el-Sheikh. They arrive there, and the radio plays a news item. It's a song. Chazarnu elayich.
You should tell people exactly where Sharm el-Sheikh is.
Down by
The very tip
of the Red Sea.
of the Red Sea, right?
And the southern part. But here it is. Now I'm stuck. I am singing a news bulletin. Everybody's so excited. Everybody is in such a high. Ron Eliran is in the clouds. I'm a god. It was the worst thing that could happen to me.
Oh, why?
Because I was like pigeon named. What is it? Labeled. I couldn't do anything else. I used to go to the dentist. Sing Sharm el-Sheikh. I go to the bathroom. People say Sharm el-Sheikh. That's the annoying part. However, the good part, of course, it made me very famous all over the world. And in hindsight, I know at least 3 families from South America that told me that they made aliyah because they heard of the song.
Everywhere you go, you have to sing it.
Listen, I'm not complaining. In the long run, it should be my worst thing to do.
גדול הוא הלילה ולך מחייך בהר ובנו הן בוקר את לא המצר עד שער המשך חזרנו אל העיר שרית על בליבנו ליבנו תמיד הים והנהר ידעו את השיר חזרנו עליהם דירנו סנפים אותם השמיים מעל לבבל מיצר ים ומים עד שער המשך עד שער המשך חזרנו אל העיר שלי על בליבנו ליבנו תמיד עולה לו הבוקר בחוף אלוהים.
You understand it's a real gift, and so it's interesting for me to hear how it happened. But it's not simply that you sang a song and wasn't that nice. Sharm el-Sheikh became symbolic of something that was big, that that the state of Israel had been able to reach all the way to the tip of the Red Sea, and in some way your song was emblematic of something bigger than Sharm el-Sheikh. Sharm el-Sheikh was like one end of the entire journey. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, it was like the two
Extremes.
big.
Yes.
The other song was Yerushalayim Shel Zahav.
Now, did you know Naomi Shemer?
Of course. I was there when the song was sung first by Shuli Natan. It was in a song festival. There was a time, and now they're bringing it back. Every year there was an annual song festival sponsored by the Israeli radio.
You were there at the song festival.
Yeah, I sang two other songs.
At the same festival.
At the same, and Teddy Kollek, the mayor of Jerusalem, was sitting on the first row, and Shuli Natan sang the song. She was a little girl, 18 years old.
So did you get along with Naomi Shemer? Did you like her?
Naomi Shemer was, we're talking about songwriting. The words and the music, like a glove.
For her.
With her, she had a talent to put it together that it was seamless. Like some Israelis write lyrics, and we call it Zimmerman lyrics. What is Zimmerman? You're trying to fit a lot of syllables into too short a melody. But she knew exactly how to do it.
Yes. One of my favorite all time is Al Kol Eleh.
I can sing you a little bit of it.
When's the first time you heard this song?
I was in a sing-along evening of a friend of mine, Gil Aldemo, is a songwriter, and he was teaching it to the audience. It was not popular yet. He was a friend of Naomi Shemer. Al הדבש ועל העוקץ, על המר והמתוק, על עינינו התינוקת, שמור לי הטוב. על האש המבוערת, על המים הזכים, על האיש השב הביתה מן המרחקים. על כל אלה, שמונה לי אלי הטוב. על הדבש ועל העוקץ, על המר והמתוק.
Very, very sweet.
She wrote some songs. She wrote a song, Lu Yehi.
Do a little bit of Lu Yehi.
Lu Yehi.
Great song.
Go. Let it go. Lu Yehi, Hallelujah. Kol שנבקש לו יהי, לו יהי, לו יהי, אנא לו יהי, כל שנבקש לו יהי.
Genius, genius.
Yeah, but you know what the story of this song?
Tell me.
You know that this song was actually, the lyrics were written for a Beatles song. Oh, let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Telling words of wisdom, let it be. As Leo Yahi, so she wrote it for the Beatles.
Are you serious?
Yes. Not for the Beatles,
Because of the Beatles? It influenced her?
to the Beatles song, Let It Be. And her husband was a smart man. He said, why are you wasting a song on a Beatles song? It's such beautiful lyrics.
It is.
And she wrote a different melody.
Uh-huh. And of course, Yerushalayim Shel Zahav will also be a classic, will it not?
Oh,
Probably,
absolutely.
you know, do a couple of bars.
אוויר הרים צלול כיין וריח אורנים נישא מרוח הארבעים עם כל פעמונים ובתרדמת אילן ואבן שבויה בחלומה העיר אשר בדד יושבת ובליבה חומה ירושלים של זהב ושל נחושת ושל אור הלא לכל השירייך אני Jerusalem, Jerusalem, forever young, forever old. My heart will sing your songs of glory, Jerusalem.
You understand I could listen to you all day and night. But wait,
You're
Phyllis-
the best audience. You're a great
Phyllis-
audience.
At what point, by the way, do you become known as the ambassador of Israeli song?
After the 6-Day War, I went to LA, some newspaper wrote it down in a review. I performed there. You know, there was a period I played in Vegas, Las Vegas too. I had to learn some pop and rock songs, and because you know, I saw Presley, and we were kids, we were young, and I wanted to impress the girls in Israel too. I sing some American songs in Hebrew too. Translation wasn't great, but
It worked.
it worked.
Also, I want to tell you something else. You know, you put out a number of what then were record albums.
Yes, LPs, right?
Yes, and there are classic record albums with you on the cover. You are a distinguished-looking man. You were a gorgeous young man. And you were a heartthrob. Come on, you were a heartthrob.
I don't see
I
girls here.
have a gorgeous, gorgeous, wonderful wife who had all of your albums.
Just because of the cover, right?
Just and she could do all of your songs.
Wow,
And she has-
really?
yeah, she's been in love with
Is
you.
she here?
Unfortunately, she couldn't come
Oh,
today.
I'm
You'll meet her.
sorry.
She has been in love with you for 70 years.
Wow,
Isn't that
that's
amazing?
nice to hear, because those first records, I took them very seriously, and they were really folk music. They were really...
They were extraordinary.
And I took some very good American folk musicians to play with me. You know, some of those songs are coming back now again in Israel.
Do you love Israel?
That's the only place I feel at home.
Even though you've spent so much of your time here in
Yes,
America.
It's something. Here I have to wear something else to protect my inner self. In Israel, I can be completely myself.
As you look at the state of Israel today and the young people today and the society today, What are you very proud of, and what worries you for Israel today? And I'm not talking about conflict with neighbors. I'm talking about internally.
I'm very proud. Are you kidding? In Israel, every time you look at on the internet, you see the accomplishment of the Jewish Israeli brains, the mind, the ingenuity in agricultural advances, in science, in daring things of individuals, and in courage. You know how many people who are wounded in wars, they go to International Olympics and they win. It's unbelievable, and I see relationship of men and women. Even in border places, there's a sincerity, a directness. There's no, I don't know if I can say BS. There's no BS. There's control. There's direct contact. Now, what I don't like is really what's happening with the westernized world of with all the iPhones and the internet and everything, where your attention span is short, your commitment gets weaker, and no sense of history. A sense of history, the we that belongs to, as far as music, most of the Israeli music is we. Anachnu navo, we shall pass, we do it, and we are together. And we have together because we have to be strong. And the old image, if you take one piece of bamboo, it's going to break, but you put it together, it's strong. That's where I come from. On the other hand, I've learned with age that the importance of the individual should not be neglected. So if we can keep that balance, we got a great place, we got a great people.
You have brought us all to the gates of heaven. You are a lovely, wonderful human being, as well as this extraordinary musical talent. You have graced the world for generations now, and that you would come here and spend this time with me and then play for me. It is really, we have to do this as often as possible.
It's my
Ron
pleasure.
Eliran, thank you.
A great listener and a wonderful, wonderful man.
Thank you, thank you. Ron Eliran, kol tuv v'hatzlacha.
Toda. Thanks.
There you have it, a meeting with one of the true great artists on the Jewish scene today, Ron Eliran, Israel's ambassador of song. As always, I invite you to be in touch with me with any thoughts or comments you may have to some of the things that Ron said, to any reactions at all to our meeting together. Please email me, write me, post on our Facebook wall, or tweet me. I look forward to hearing from you. And if you want to be in touch with Ron Eliran, email me, and I will forward your emails on to him. Until the next time, I'm Mark Golub. L'chaim, my friends, to life.
We would be pleased to send a complimentary DVD of this program to anyone who wishes to support Shalom TV with a tax-deductible gift of $36, double chai or more, to the nonprofit organization Jewish Education in Media. Simply visit the Shalom TV website homepage and click on the Donate button to make a donation by PayPal or your credit card. And please indicate the program for which you would like a DVD. Or you can send your tax-deductible check made out to GEM. To GEM, Post Office Box 180, Riverdale Station, Bronx, New York, 10471. And again, please remember to indicate which program you would like to receive on DVD with our compliments. And we thank you for your kind support.
L'chaim is a presentation of Jewish Education in Media.